In this video, I'm going to talk about the African American book market. What people don't know over the last 30 years, I'm sure some of the black men know this, but the African American book market has a monolithic view of African American culture and African American history. And the view mostly comes from a female perspective, or as I like to see, a black feminist perspective. Most of the popular books in African American literature that are published usually feature some sort of feminist slant. And I'll give you some examples. Like the books The Color Purple by Alice Walker, um, Push, the novel by Sapphire, which was used to adapt Precious, um, books like Waiting to Exhale, and most most African American fiction fits within this feminist viewpoint, and we never get to hear the counterpoint in any of the publications produced by American trade publishers. Um, and that's by design because basically white supremacist publishers do not want to present the views of black men in publishing. They don't want black men's views in books because they don't want to offend their largely African American female audience. So they try to present these. And so if you go to any book from a trade publisher, it's usually going to have a black feminist slant, and it's going to have a black feminist view. And this view was very misandristic and man-hating, and that's why most of the books produced over the last 35 to 40 years feature this misandristic view, which tells us black men are no good, black men are lazy, black men are incompetent, black men are drug dealers, criminals. It all perpetuates a stereotype about black men. And the only way to get the counterpoint across is if you self-publish, or if you're like myself, you start your own publishing company. Um, what I find that this is very dangerous, this viewpoint, because a lot of young girls have grown up learning from this black feminist viewpoint, um, about things that aren't true and things that are inaccurate. Like, for example, the interpretation of the book Their Eyes Are Watching God, from Zora Neale Hurston. Alice Walker gave us a misinterpretation of that book when she dug it up out of print. The book went out of print and then she brought it back. And she gave us this misinterpreted analysis, that totally glosses over the white men who raped Janie's mother and grandmother, and the fact that Janie Crawford, the main character, was raised by a single mother, a single grandmother, and in a female-headed household. All of this is glossed over, and in her analysis, which has been taught from the sixth grade on to to two generations of black children, they've been taught that it was the black men who messed up her life, and we never got that objective perspective that showed us that it was her coming from that single mother household, and it was the proposed ideas from her single grandmother that led her on this road to dysfunction. Now, an objective professor would have given you that, would have talked about that, um, being in, say, raised in that single grandmother household. He would have talked about the impact of her grandmother and mother being raped by white men, and that would have been discussed in depth. But because we have black feminist views and that are reinforced by white supremacy, all of this was glossed over. And I'll give you another example. Just recently with the book Push, from Sapphire, a lot of people don't know that Woman Sapphire was a lesbian, just like Alice Walker was a lesbian, and both of them had really man-hating views, and that's the reason why these books were pushed and promoted in schools as African American authors, and that's what's going to be pushed a lot of the time. Um, this miseducation also is done with other books by black male authors, such as Richard Wright. A lot of people don't know that Richard Wright was a big-time Uncle Tom, and he promoted a lot of self-hating views. Most of his books, the black man always dies. And that's why white people think that he's a great author, because he promotes this view that black men, the only way for a black man to be a part of American society is dead. Um, I'd say there's only maybe a handful of, a lot of the books out here that are taught in schools really are miseducated or they promote white supremacy, and they really, a lot of them promote a feminist view. And that's why, and the sad part is we're not getting that counterpoint in media. We're not getting a counterpoint to promote against these feminist views and this misandry that's been promoted in books like The Color Purple, which really scarred a generation of, again, taught in schools and scarred a generation of black girls. And what it taught them was black men are no good, black men are monsters, black men are sexual deviants. And again, just like in the case of Their Eyes Were Watching God, everything is glossed over about this white slave master or this white, as or of today, this white liberal. It's all glossed over and it's never discussed. We never get that objective perspective in black literature, and we've gotten this feminist viewpoint for 30 years, and every time a black man tries to come in and present a different viewpoint, efforts are made to silence him. I've run into this myself. I've been told by other authors, author friend of mine told me that if you speak against black women won't buy your books. But I feel that some things are more important to sales, such as my integrity, my character, and my mission. My mission was to provide positive stories about the African American experience and to provide different viewpoints and perspectives of African Americans. And one of the viewpoints we haven't really heard in the last 30 to 35 years is the view of black men. Um, and the reason why we haven't heard the views of black men is because there have been active efforts to censor and silence black men in the publishing world and prevent our African American men's viewpoints from being presented in this forum. Um, when I used to submit books to publishers, like in the 90s, I had a book called The Changing Soul. I was trying to submit it to publishers, and because it featured a black male protagonist and talked about his issues and his viewpoints, the book was rejected vehemently. Another book that I tried to submit featuring a black male protagonist, The Temptation of John Haynes, was also vehemently rejected by African American publishers. Not African American publishers, but by trade publishers and literary agents. Again, they did not want the viewpoint from an African American male author out there. And however, when I wrote a book, Cassandra Cookbook, and they didn't even want that book when I presented it from a male perspective. When I presented it from a female perspective, originally when I did the book Cassandra Cookbook, A Recipe for Success, and I presented it from a male viewpoint, I couldn't get it. I couldn't get anybody to look at it. But when I sold it as a female book, all of a sudden, editors and agents wanted to look at it. And the only reason why they wanted to look at it is because, in part of the premise, I talk about her boyfriend being a down low black man, and that to me was I really didn't I couldn't connect the dots back then, but now looking at it about 5-10 years later, because the book is now 10 years old, the real reason why they probably wanted to look at the book was because um, I featured this man, this effeminate homosexual male, and as one of the characters in the story, and had a female lead. Um, but again, when they probably started reading the story and started seeing that one of the main characters was a functional black male, responsible black male, they didn't want to see that in there, and that the down low man was a bad guy. They didn't want to do that type of book. Um, this feminist view again, it messes up black children. It has scarred black children. It has messed up their perceptions of black men and has made us believe that black men are monsters, black men are bad guys, black men are criminals. These books are just as bad as any racist stereotype TV show or stereotype movie, such as what's coming out in the theaters this week, No Good Deed, which perpetuates the black brute. And that's what's perpetuated in a lot of these books and a lot of this media. A lot of this media, like the Tyler Perry, is just like these Tyler Perry plays. They always perpetuate the image of an evil black man. These were the predecessors, I'd say, to that, because these books really, when they were adapted into movies like Color Purple, Precious, they all feature an evil black man. They all perpetuate an ideal of white supremacy and that the only way for a black person to actualize their potential is with um, a white man behind them and a white man supporting and validating them. And they never promote the idea of black people doing for self. That's what makes this type of literature dangerous, and that's what makes it very dangerous for you to imbibe, African American women to imbibe it. I feel that you really do need a counterpoint and a counter view that shows you African American men as human beings, African American men as loving and caring and being good, responsible fathers and good, responsible men. But we're not getting that in the black book market. And currently today, on top of these misanthropic literary classics, what we're getting in African American literature, it's been hijacked by street lit and erotica, which feature images and stories that take us back to the minstrel era of the early 20th century. If you look at most street lit, it features black women literally, with main characters who literally degrade themselves, who literally perpetuate this Jezebel stereotype. Like in most erotica, these women are total sexual deviants. This perpetuates the idea that not of a black woman being sexual, but being a sexual deviant and just literally doing all sorts of sexual acts. This street lit perpetuates the idea that black people are criminals. And both of these genres are now dominating the African American book market. And it's very sad that no one is explaining to African Americans. And also, I'll talk about this Christian fiction as well, featuring these pastors and this pseudo Christianity that's perpetuated. And it's not even Christian fiction. It features no messages about the Word of God, no sense of morality. No, it does not promote values. Again, it promotes more sexual deviancy, um, more dysfunction, and more chaos. And this image of the black community is downright perverted, and there's no counterpoint. And I'm sad to say that there aren't that many people trying to counter this stuff anymore, and trade publishers aren't trying to counter it, and a lot of the only a handful of self-publishers like myself are trying to counter it and refute this information, because I've learned you are just like you are what you eat, you are what you read, and the media that you imbibe and feed your mind can be just as destructive as a sugary bowl of cereal, a candy bar, a steady diet of candy bars, or a steady diet of sugary, fatty foods. Um, and if you eat too much of this media, this dysfunctional media, these street lit novels, this erotica, um, like Zane, and these street lit novels like these series, The Silver Platter Hoe, or something like that, and you compound this with reality TV like Love and Hip Hop, um, Basketball Wives, and movies like No Good Deed, you steadily feed yourself a diet of the mental diet of this media. You eventually start acting like this media, and especially if you get it from a young age. And what we're feeding black people is a diet of dysfunction, a diet of dysfunction, which is killing black people. Because this type of media teaches you not to value yourself, to see your worth, to see what is good about being black, um, and what people sacrificed and died for to get you here. I mean, all these I look at history and all of what black people did. They didn't die and sacrifice so that people today could be minstrels, so they could be coons, so they could so black women could be Jezebels and perpetuate these images which dehumanize black people. Um, they fought and sacrificed so that we could promote humanized images. And I look at their legacy. I look at the legacy of great black leaders and great black people, and I want to perpetuate and I want to build on that legacy. That was one of the reasons why I founded SJS Direct, that I wanted to build on that legacy of people like Bill Cosby, Robert Townsend, Spike Lee, Mario Van Peebles, and some of the other great black people, the great black writers like Ralph Ellison, um, Walter Mosley, and Dwayne McDuffie. I look at those black people and I want to build on their legacy. I want to continue presenting positive images of African Americans and humanized images of African Americans because the mainstream media does not want black people to see themselves as human, and they use the American black woman. They target the media at the American black woman so that she can transmit a dysfunctional culture to her children and continue to present it in the household. So they sell her these books and they sell her these ideas that it's okay to be a side piece, it's okay to be a baby mama, it's okay to deal with thugs and criminals, and this is just what being black is, and this is not what being black is at all. Um, these books, and they poison your mind, and you have to feed your, just like you have to feed your body, you have to feed your mind a healthy diet of literature that helps stimulate your mind and inspires you and gives you ideas of what you could be and what could possibly be. Um, that's one of the things I try to do with most of my work, and that's one of the things I try to do with my publications, because I know that it all starts with the mind, and again, just like they've said, a people can rise no higher than its women, and the images and media presented of black women are in the gutter, and we have to, and I say, black men and black women, we have to do something about this. We have to stop buying this stuff and start buying healthy positive fiction, healthy stuff like fantasy, sci-fi, and healthy romance novels which feature humanized relationships and people forming human connections with each other. Um, the media we have today is some of the worst, I'd say, since the early 20th century. I mean, if you look at the old black pulp fiction novels, the old pulp fiction novels, where they have this black brute and they're talking about lynching him, or they have this black Jezebel. We're getting these kind of stories from black publishers and bookstores. That when you go to the African American section nowadays, it's a sewer, and it wasn't that way 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there was diversity, books were unique, um, and sadly, the reason why the market changed is because black women stopped buying those kind of books, and they started buying into this minstrel show, and they've made it a social and cultural norm. And I'm saying to the sisters, you have to stop buying this stuff because it's bad for your mind. It's bad for your mind, and it's coming out of your. It was coming. It comes out of your head. Comes into your head. Is coming out into the world, and it's creating this tarnished image of African American women, and it's being fed to your children as well. It's also poisoning the minds of your children. Because when I see young kids not thinking about going to school and aspiring to be thugs and dope boys, and they don't understand that the entire dope game has changed since the 1980s. A lot of people still think it's Scarface and New Jack City out here, when it's really a snitching game, because they read these books and they think there can be drug kingpins and gold diggers and side pieces, and they think this is normal. This is not normal. This is what white supremacy wants black women to be, and this is the type of material they want to produce out here. Um, Again, this feminist viewpoint is telling you that you can do whatever you want, any old thing. This is not to your benefit, black woman. These kind of books are not made to your benefit. You notice they don't promote this type of dysfunction in white literature. They don't promote it in Hispanic literature. They don't promote it in Asian literature. They only promote this minstrel show in black literature. And if you can't ask to change the quality of the community if you continue to perpetuate and promote these images and this culture to your people. Um, if you keep buying this, you're only promoting white supremacy, and that's one of the things that's just disturbing to me, is that you have black women now promoting white supremacy in their own community by buying these books. And they think it's entertainment, but it's not entertainment. It's never been entertainment. It's an indoctrination to a way of thinking. And this has been for the last 30, 35 years. It's gone from this dysfunctional feminist viewpoint with Color Purple and Precious and Waiting to Exhale, man hating, to this cultural sewer. And the whole thing is that any black man who tries to present a counterpoint to it is often threatened with no sales, or they try to bully you out of the market. Like I've had to deal with these type of commenters on my blog threatening me, saying one commenter is just one commenter, and I had a best-selling author, and I had an author friend tell me that if you speak out against black women, they won't buy your work. But what's wrong with having a different view? I mean, I thought this was the United States of America. I thought we had freedom of press. I thought we had freedom of speech. But in the black community, we have this monolithic view in publishing, trade publishing, and even lately in self-publishing of black people that that's all people want to see. And you can't ask for change if you keep buying the same thing. You can't ask for something different. Like a lot of people, they were up. Like an article I read, they said, "Why aren't there any black movies?" Well, there aren't any black movies because Hollywood is not going to promote that type of image if you keep buying this image. Um, that's not Nothing's going to change unless you do something about it. And the problem is that we have this monolithic view of from trade publishers that is promoted by black feminists to destroy black women, and they think that it's one way, but it's not. It's actually a promotion of white supremacy. If you look at a lot of the books, the evil black man goes back to that old racial stereotype of the black brute. Um, and that's what they see, a no good black man. And we've gone from that to the total degradation of the black woman in literature. And we really need that counterpoint. We really need more publishers to come out with this counterpoint because community is in shambles, and this steady diet from, I'd say, from grade 6 to on, and even when you're a child, because a lot of kids watch these reality shows and stuff. Steady diet of this media is creating chaos in the black community, and we have to fight this monolithic viewpoint. We need more counter media like the ones I produce. We need more people to try to create media to counter this media that's being presented out here, especially these black books. I mean, it's a sewer. I mean, if you go to your local Barnes and Noble, your vendor table, you will see a sewer. You will see a minstrel show. And the sad part is there's just a lot of silence. And then anytime he tries to present a counterpoint like myself, they get threatened or they try to get bullied. But I'm not going to give in to this type of bullying. I feel that you have to stand, and black men who stand up to these feminists and this monolithic culture are going to be the ones who show black women who's standing for them. Because I mean, if you look at what's going on today, um, police officers are now beating up on black women. So I have to keep putting these counter views out here and these counterpoints out here. I put counter views in my blog, www.shawnsjames.blogspot.com, and I put it in much of the books I publish. I understand that you have to have a counterpoint so that you can have an understanding of how the literature is, in a lot of cases, you're miseducated in it, or it's misinterpreted, and how they don't want to put black people in a positive light. And how they don't want to put you in a humanized light. They really want to promote this gender war and all this other dysfunction, and that is to the detriment of African Americans all across the world. I mean, we have to really take a look at things and really think about how this media presents us to the world and who is presenting it. Because a lot of the images were presented, a lot of these critically acclaimed authors like Alice Walker really aren't out to help black people. A lot of them have a feminist view, and a lot of them really, they're the sellouts of the black community, but nobody ever calls them on it or holds them accountable or breaks their work down in such a way to show you how dysfunctional their view is. And the only way I found out about this was going outside of school, and when I was doing my own writing and research, and I just Googled their names, and then I started reading reading analyses of their work. And in the case of Earth Watching God, God Himself showed that to me about Janie coming from that single female-headed household. And that gave me that gave me the understanding of that the book was misinterpreted by Alice Walker, and it was misinterpreted and has been taught to two generations of girls. And I'm urging people to go out and go read works on their own, dissect them, deconstruct them, just like I did with Their Eyes Watching God. I wanted to urging you to take a deeper look at it, and I'm urging black women to start buying books, not that aren't popular, that aren't social currency, but to buy books that present the counterpoint, because you really need to hear from black men, and you really need from other black men, not guys like Steve Harvey or Tyler Perry, who pander to you, guys like him and T.D. Jakes, who pander to black women and tell them what they want to hear. You need to hear the counterpoint that tells you what you don't want to hear, because the guys who are telling you what you don't want to hear are really the ones trying to tell you what you need to know. And that's one of the things I try to do on my blog, is I try to tell women what they need to know. When I would do blogs like what women don't know about being a side piece, why real men avoid single mothers, these were blogs that were denounced by black feminists. And the reason why I did them was to help men, but I need women to take a look at them too, because they need to understand this is how men view you. This is how men view certain behaviors. I also did a blog about tattoos that I think black women need to take a look at, because you really need to look at this, because I've listened to men talk. I've listened to their views, and the whole point is the guys like Steve Harvey and Tyler Perry have no interest in explaining things to you, because they're too busy making money off of you. And they're too busy promoting this white supremacist, black feminist viewpoint, so they can make money off of you and exploit you. And I don't want to exploit black women. I want to uplift them and help them be the best they can be. Um, that's one of the reasons why I made this video, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this monolithic black feminist view that's controlling the publishing market and the black literary world, and dominating in black bookstores. It's preventing us from seeing counterpoints and seeing other views of the black community outside of this one view. And as long as we see this one view, it prevents the black community from growing. It prevents a fair and honest discourse and a fair and honest discussion, because as long as the print media and other media, especially the print media, is controlled by this cabal of exploiters and pimps, we're never going to get that open discussion that leads to healing and leads to true and honest growth. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.